Only a cold. On a dreary, rain-soaked evening, Phil Burnell, known to many as a notorious figure in the online world, sat slouched in front of his flickering computer screen. He had a mild cold, though, considering his usual state of health, it felt more like a creeping malaise. His nose was stuffed, his voice raspy. He could feel every tickle in his throat like the jaws of some unseen beast gnawing at him. But tonight wasn't just about illness, it was about opportunity. Phil was far from a sympathetic character. He had spent years alienating friends, family, and even his loyal supporters, all the while indulging in his penchant for fast food and an excessive intake of gin. The irony lay heavy, like a thick fog in the air. Just off camera, he had drained 3 bottles of his favorite gin, his forte in drowning out not just his sorrows, but also the din of his own conscience. A flicker of determination flashed through his glassy eyes as he leaned into the camera, grinning widely, though it was unsettling, like the grim smile of a joker at a funeral. "Listen up, my dedicated dents," he croaked, the words slithering from his tongue like a grotesque serpent. "I need you all to get out of those wheelchairs and open your wallets. I'm really sick here." He exaggerated a cough for effect, the sort that would usually enlist sympathy from the naive. But tonight, his calculation was far more sinister. He imagined the donations rolling in, filling his bank account like the tides returning to shore, and for a moment, he relished the power he wielded over his audience of misplaced affection and misguided loyalty. Suddenly, the screen flickered again, and Phil felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. He could see their faces, filled with concern. Or was it pity? The lines blurred as the room spun. "You need to take care of me, don't you?" he rasped, swinging his arm dramatically. "Your love keeps me going." But as the words left his mouth, his vision darkened. The world spun violently, and he felt himself leaning forward, then, nothing. The screen went silent, but for a moment, an eerie stillness filled the air. The chat exploded with confusion and concern. "Phil, are you okay? What's happening?" But there was no answer, only the sound of distant thunder and the soft patter of rain against the windows. Minutes passed. The screen remained frozen on Phil's last, ragged breath. Had he collapsed from the weight of his own deception? Was this a con, a final act of manipulation, designed to tug on heartstrings and extract every last penny from the pockets of his entranced dents? Or was it the tragic culmination of a life spent on a perilous edge, teetering between reality and oblivion? As those thoughts flickered through the minds of his unsuspecting audience, Phil lay still, a macabre puppet with its strings cut. The darkness enveloped him, and he felt the cold grip of uncertainty seep through his veins. No one cared enough to check on him, not really. They were simply waiting for the next act, the next grand display of theatrics. With an almost supernatural clarity, he felt the laughter bubbling inside him, a haunting echo of his own cruel intentions. As if the universe were in on the joke, he imagined himself rolling on the floor, clutching his stomach in delight. Phil had become a ghost in his own twisted narrative, ready to exploit his own collapse for the sake of sympathy. With a swift flick of his hand, he turned off the camera, steeling himself for his next beg session. It was all part of the show, after all. "Tomorrow," he whispered into the darkness, "they'll feel sorry for me, and I'll rake it all in." But as he succumbed to the shadows, one couldn't help but wonder. Had Phil truly lost control, or was he merely the author of his own dark destiny? The answer was buried beneath layers of deception, like a lost soul wandering in the night.